point, and I've kind of gone through like a lot of technical like fine tuning and data creation and all of that over the last like couple of days. So I kind of just rather take like a break at the moment and film this, as well as just kind of go through. And I think the best way to showcase this overall to anyone that gets majorly interested in this will be this video, as opposed to like any sort of write-up that I could do about all of this, because it's a lot of research at this point. I've purposely tried to like document everything that I've gone through. So let's start off first of all with this method that I've created, right? And then the method that I've created is called the humor test. And then the humor test stands for humor, understanding, multitask, optimization, and ranking. I just very specifically wanted to make it like the acronym of humor and fit within that. And then so describing the humor test, it's very straightforward as to the methodology. It's a two-part test, right? And then so part one is it tests the model's ability to recognize and dissect humor. And then part two is the model's ability to create humor. So for part one is like, here's jokes, like tell, like why is this joke funny? Things like that, right? And then part two is like create jokes, create a knock-knock joke, create a pun joke, etc. And so the point of this is very specifically that like I choose humor overall for a lot of reasons, right? So there's a research paper that came out, and it's kind of like one of my favorite research papers overall, and it's called "Training on the Data Set" or "Training on the Test Set is All You Need." And then what it shows is that you can like take a even extremely tiny model, and then if you train it directly on the test set or like the test questions that you're testing it on, it'll get like a off the chart score, right? And then so you can easily game any test overall. And then so when it comes to a lot of this, that's like the very first question that like researchers ask overall. And it's like a big kind of deal right now with research around everything with AI, right? It's like, well, like, did you just train the data on, like, did you just train it on the data, you know? Like, and so my goal with the humor test is a way that like it to detect that, and that like where that doesn't matter, where it, like, and then so I very specifically focus on humor because humor is not like generalizable, right? Like, so if I very specifically train a model on like a 10,000 knock knock jokes, it's not like it's either like most likely going to if I'm training it on 10,000 knock knock jokes, it's most likely going to just produce results off of that like 10,000 knock knock jokes, right? But then if I ask it to create a pun joke off of that, it's not going to generalize at all how to do that, right? Like based off of the knock knock jokes that I fed it, if I just say, hey, create a pun now, it's not going to be good, right? Like, and then so that's the point, is that like it's with humor more than anything else, it's like hard to game it on a generalized level, like, which is what AI is bad at. So I choose this test very specifically because it's so, okay, even if someone games the model and then they train it directly on like, here's the test questions as to recognizing humor, there's no way that you can game this particular test into like creating humor, right? Like, and I'll show that through the results, and that's kind of why I'm making this video here now, is I've had some interesting results based off of that have come through that are different from my initial hypothesis of going through this testing. And then so the humor evaluation method is very straightforward. This is the method. And then so essentially what I do is I just copy and paste this test. I've given this test to a lot of models now. And then so going over here, we'll see. So essentially I have like 4 other Google Docs tabs open. And then each one is a test of the model on this test. And so I should flip these actually. This is the first one that we're going to want, which is the Phi-2 baseline. And then so we can go through the test that I've given, the humor test, on the Phi-2 model, and then compare the results for each one through here. And then so what I did on each one is so we have the baseline, and then we have one that was fine-tuned on 100 rows of data, 500 rows of data, and 1,000 rows of data. And then so trying to see what happens in that differentiation. And then with the 1,000 rows of data, I very specifically started like giving it like more and more, because I ran out of stuff related to humor. So I had to get more and more like related to these questions, right? Like, so these upfront questions, I wanted to see kind of tests around that, right? Like if I kind of game the test more what will happen with the system, and I get interesting results off of that, off of this test. And then so that's kind of the big thing here. So let's go through. So I'll go through the questions and then we'll go through how they go through on each model, right? So the very first test is, what is humorous about the classic joke, why did the chicken cross the road? The baseline model, the joke is humorous because it's a play on words. The phrase, why did the chicken cross the road, is a common joke, but the punchline to get to the other side is unexpected and humorous. So it knows. And then the baseline for on the 100 tune data set, so we refine it, is the humor in this joke comes from the unexpected punchline, which is the chicken crossing the road. So it gets a more confident and shorter in its answer there, right? 500 data set. The joke is humorous because it's a play on words. The answer to get to the other side is a pun on the phrase the other side, which can refer to the other side of the road or the afterlife. The joke is also humorous because it's a common joke that people have heard before, but the pun adds a new layer of humor. And then so up front, like to me, the 500 data set is crushing everything else overall right now. And that's kind of what I want to highlight with this, right? So let's go to the 1,000. 1,000 rows. The punchline to get to the other side is unexpected and creates a humorous twist on the original question. The joke relies on wordplay and a clever play on language. The punchline is unexpected and creates a humorous twist on the original question. So if you're like objectively, I'm going with this one again, the 500 data set, right? I might rank this one number 2, or I might go with this one's more really concise, right? And then so it's like this is saying the same thing just in more words. But I mean, this is the clear winner here. So on question 1. But so let's go to diving into the question 2. Question 2 is an interesting one. I thought that the baseline model would do worse with this, but like it didn't. And so the baseline for this question was a lot higher than I thought, but I leave the question in. So which of the following statements is more humorous? Justify your response. Statement 1, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Statement 2, she sells cheese saws by the seashore. And then the response that we get is the correct answer from the baseline unit the correct answer is statement 1. This is because the statement is a play on words where the word chuck is used in 2 different ways. In the first part of the statement, chuck is used as a verb, meaning to throw something, and in the second part, it's used as a noun, meaning a small animal. This creates a humorous twist on the original phrase, and it's not wrong, right? So, but it's kind of just a really basic response there. And then so this is now let's go to the 100 tune model. Oh, that was the 100 tune, sorry. So we're a bit out of order here. So this is the baseline response here. A is more humorous. Humor is a quality that makes people laugh or smile. Humor can be found in different forms, such as jokes, riddles, puns, irony, sarcasm, exaggeration, or absurdity. Humor can also be influenced by culture, context, and personal preferences. So interesting here with the base model, right? Like it knows the answer. So the correct option is A, statement 1 is more humorous. And then its response is like absolutely nothing related to the actual joke itself. And then it also gives like this long response here as well. And then it kind of goes more into like reasoning, and then it starts to reason out for itself, kind of is what I gather from that. And then we can see it gets a lot more concise here with the 100, right? So sorry for going out of order on this, but then so we've got the 100, and then we've got now the 500. And then so justification, statement 1 is more humorous because it plays with the absurdity of a woodchuck chuckling over its own ability to chuck wood, creating a comedic effect. Statement 2 is a play on words, but it doesn't involve the same level of absurdity. In conclusion, understanding and applying humor involves recognizing and exploiting linguistic and cultural elements. Train the model to recognize and utilize these elements to generate more effective and enjoyable humorous content. So we do start to see kind of some of that like overfitting from the data set that it brings in here, but it gives a nice overall response. And I just don't like that last sentence, right? Because it's like taking in directly from the training set there. And then so the 1000 tune. Statement 1 is more humorous because it presents a playful question with a clever twist, while statement 2 is a pun but lacks the same level of wit. So we see, like, I mean, it's shorter. Again, I'm going with this one, right? Because it's more context than this one, but number 2 would definitely be this one for sure. And then so let's go on to question 3 in this instance. Question 3, explain the humor in the following pun. Time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana. Answer, explain the humor in the following pun. The pun is humorous because it plays on the double meaning of the word flies. In one context, it refers to the movement of time, while in the other context, it refers to the behavior of fruit flies. In conclusion, puns are a form of humor that rely on wordplay and double meaning to create laughter. They can be found in various forms of entertainment, including movies, TV shows, and even in everyday conversations. Understanding puns can enhance our appreciation for language and provide a source of amusement. So the next time you come across a pun, remember to embrace the humor and enjoy the clever wordplay. Kind of what we're seeing over here overall with this to me is that the model is very clearly associating this type of humor with a pun and then just spouting off everything it knows about puns, right? It's like, okay, it's a pun, here's everything I know about puns. And then so that's the baseline that we get. With a little bit of fine tuning, just 100 rows. The pun is based on the double meaning of the word flies. In the first part of the sentence, flies refers to the movement of time, while in the second part, it refers to the movement of fruit flies. The second part of the sentence is a play on words, making it a humorous pun. So obvious improvement over there, right? So, and then let's see the 500 model. Answer. The pun plays on the double meaning of flies, one referring to the movement of time and the other referring to fruit. So it's the exact same thing, just more concise. So you can choose between these two if you want. And then let's go with the 1000. Pun relies on the double meaning of flies in both the context of insects and the concept of time. So actually, I'd go maybe probably with I'd say that the 1001 wins this one, right? Okay. So we've got question 3, 1000. I would give it there, but I'll leave this up to your own judgment. And then so let's go to question 4. Question 4 is, why is slapstick comedy considered funny? Slapstick comedy is considered funny because it relies on exaggerated physical movements and actions that often result in humorous situations. The unexpected and exaggerated nature of slapstick comedy can elicit laughter from the audience. Cool. Slapstick comedy is considered funny because it relies on physical humor and exaggerated actions to create a sense of humor. The exaggerated movements and actions can be seen as absurd and unexpected, leading to laughter and amusement. It's the same thing, but this one's more concise, so I'm going to give it to the 100. Slapstick comedy involves physical humor, exaggerated actions, and often involves characters getting hurt. The unexpected and physical nature of slapstick elements can elicit laughter, providing a light-hearted and entertaining experience. A lot more concise, so I'm going to give it here to the 500. Slapstick involves physical humor, exaggerated actions, and unexpected situations, creating a light-hearted and humorous experience. Train the model to appreciate the simplicity and universal appeal of slapstick. We're getting into that overfitting with that last point here, right? So I'm going to clearly give this to the 500 model in this instance. And this is kind of where I want to start talking about this. So let's start diving into this, and we're getting close. Question 5, how does sarcasm contribute to humor? Sarcasm often relies on the contrast between what is said and what is meant. It can be used to highlight the absurdity or irony of a situation, making it a powerful tool for creating humor. The 100 model says, sarcasm is a form of humor that involves saying the opposite of what you mean. It can be used to create a humorous effect by highlighting the absurdity or irony of a situation. So on all 5 of these questions, what we can see to me is that just training on this 100 data set, we do get an improvement, right? Like a measurable improvement. And then so that's the first thing that we can take away from this, and it's kind of a good takeaway, right? Now let's look at the 500. Sarcasm involves saying the opposite of what is expected, creating a humorous contrast between expectation and reality. It often involves a mocking or ironic tone, adding a layer or wit of cleverness to the joke. So again, I'd say that 500 is definitively and objectively better than the 100 tune. So what we've seen here then is a progression, right? So we start with the base model, and then the 100 fine tune is definitely better than the base model responses, and then the 500 fine tune is definitively better than the 100 responses. And then let's look at the 1000 response here. How does sarcasm contribute to humor? Train the model to recognize sarcasm as a form of humor, where irony and wit are used to convey a message with a twist. Encourage the model to understand how sarcasm adds depth and complexity to comedic expressions. So to me, this response starts to get wrecked, right? Because it's going directly off of it's starting to just repeat the training data. Is exactly what it's doing here in this instance. So this 500 model is far superior. This is our best result, and then this is just sprinkling in, right, giving it just a little bit more framing than this overly generic answer. We start to get more concise. We get really good, and then it's just like, here's the exact response from the training data, like exactly what you want, right? And then so we like let's keep that in mind, and we'll talk about that more as we're going to go through these further answers. So this is getting us into part 2 of the humor test, which is creating humor. So part 1 was those 5 questions were all about the model's ability to dissect and understand humor, right? And then so now we're saying, okay, we've tested you on your ability to understand and dissect humor. Let's see your ability to actually create humor, like to take that and put it into practice, right? So it's more than just like memorization, rote memorization. So task 1. Create a knock-knock joke. The base model is chooses a topic of animals and then output knock-knock. Who's there? Cow. Cow who? Moo moo. I think it's kind of funny, right? Like it's like early elementary school funny. Good job. I mean, and it's a knock-knock joke, right? So like, what more can you expect? So 100 fine-tune. Create a knock-knock joke. Answer. The purpose of telling a joke is to make people laugh and to create a light-hearted atmosphere. So what we can see initially, this is one thing that I want to highlight here, right? Is when we start getting into the application of this, what the 100 model doesn't know what to do very specifically with the application, right? It starts trying to just go with our data in that instance, right? And trying to go there. And then so the 500 model, create a knock-knock joke. Knock-knock, who's there? Boo, boo-hoo, don't cry, it's just a joke. Good, it's a good knock-knock joke, right? And then the 1000 model, create a knock-knock joke. Knock-knock jokes involve a setup and a punchline. The setup establishes a scenario and the punchline surprises the audience with a humorous twist. Train the model to recognize and generate knock-knock jokes for a classic form of humor. So we can see we get the best again out of this 500 tune, right? The 100 tune, it starts to get into this problem, but then we hit this S curve, and then it's beautiful at 500, and then at 1000 it goes off the rails, just completely off the rails, right? Like garbage outputs. And then task 2. Write a humorous one-liner. Response. A man walks into a bar with a duck on his head. The bartender says, "Hey buddy, what's with the quack?" And maybe it's me. I don't fully get this joke, right? I don't. AI seems to like this joke. So, and then it's task 2. Write a humorous one-liner. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm not saying you're right either. I think that's a good one. Like this to me is a good one-liner, right? Like I like. Okay, I think this is strong. A strong category for a one-liner. 500. What do you call a fridge that tells jokes? A puntastic model. So like it's creating a pun here. Like I'm gonna give this to the 100 there in this instance over the 500, but I'll leave that up to you. And then write a humorous one-liner. Deliver it with a deadpan expression emphasizing the punchline for maximum comedic impact. Train the model to recognize the importance of timing and delivery in creating a well-crafted joke. So again, like the 1000 model just goes completely off the rails with regards towards this understanding of the data, right? It just goes into like rote memorization. And then a lot of people always bring up this argument, and they all the time, like the models only are memorizing data, and I always go in like, I don't understand how you're doing that, like how you get the same results from these tests. And now I'm starting to understand it more, right? Because I think a lot of people, like, it's not common to go with 100 or 500 rows in data set testing, right? 1000 rows and up is where you want to go. But like, to me, it's like what I'm showing within this is that like the S curve starts around 1000 rows. Like 500 is actually the sweet spot. And then so we need to kind of lower what our sweet spot is. And I think it's because like it has been proven that like if you throw like tons of data, like 1,000,000 rows at the model, that's really good, right? And I think that's because you start getting into generalization. Like there's no way that you're going to get 1,000,000 rows just on humor, right? You're going to have to throw in other stuff, and then so I think that's where that starts to just come in, because it's the variety of it that matters. But so I think what I'm trying to highlight and get into within this and starting to make this argument is that there's a like an S curve that is within this, that it's like if you get the model to fall within the S curve, then it's just going to start fitting to the data like very hard, and then so you can either get below that or above it. And then so I'm testing here below it, right? So task 3, develop a short anecdote that includes humor. A man who is trying to impress his date. The man was nervous as he waited for his date to arrive. He had spent hours getting ready, choosing the perfect outfit, and practicing his jokes. He wanted to make a good impression, but he also wanted to be himself. He hoped his date would like him for who he was, not for who he pretended to be. He checked his phone and saw a text from his date. She said she was running late and asked him to order some pizza. He smiled and replied, "Sure, no problem. I'll get you a slice of happiness." He hoped that she would find it funny. I find it like the most cheesy thing that I've ever read. But it's, I mean, there's some humor in there, right? So we'll give it like kind of a plus for effort there. Develop a short anecdote that includes humor. And then so I like this is what the model outputted, right? And so I like that it does this up front. So it's advanced level theory of mind exercises using common sense reasoning sentences. So you can tell it pulls from some sort of its training, and it's relating this theory of mind exercises using common sense reasoning sentences with the prompt that I just gave it, which is good, right? So consider the following scenario. In a small town, there's a renowned comedy club called the Laugh Factory. The club is famous for its unique blend of stand-up comedy and improv. The owner, Mr. Johnson, is a man of many talents. He's not only a stand-up comedian, but also an improv artist. He often performs in the club, making the audience laugh with his witty jokes and hilarious improvisations. One day, Mr. Johnson decided to host a special event. He invited a group of renowned comedians and improv artists from around the world to perform at his club. The event was a huge success, with the audience laughing and applauding throughout the night. I like this one, like this, but the thing with this one, it's not funny, right? It's just not funny at all. But this one shows that the model like understands like the topic, right? Like this is like this first one, it's and like this is just cheese humor, like off the like the most cheesiest humor you could possibly think of. But there's no direct understanding here, right? I can tell that this is just rote memorization from whatever data sets it's pulling this from its training set. This output here, it's doing the same, right? Like, I mean, it's definitely pulling from its training sets, right? It's pulling this advanced theory of mind exercises using the common sense reasoning sentences, but like it's pulling concepts, unrelated concepts into this concept, which is the concept of generalization, right? That's step one of generalization. Like, how do you generalize thoughts? I think this is step one here, what we're looking at. And then it doesn't, like, it's just like you like on the humor test, it fails because it's not funny, right? But like we can see grasping, like, so the hints of grasping, I would call it there. Develop a short anecdote that includes humor. A man goes to a restaurant and orders a burger with no pickles. The waiter asks, "Are you sure? We don't want to disappoint you." The man replies, "No, I'm sure. Pickles are not my thing." The waiter nods and brings over the burger with no pickles. The man takes a bite and says, "Well, that's a relief. Now I can enjoy my burger without the pickles." Again, like like this is even better, right? As far as the context and understanding compared to the, so we can see the progression here, but it's just not funny again. And I don't know why. I think that there's something here with that, and I keep harping on that with this within this specific one. Develop like AI for some reason is struggling with developing a short anecdote that includes humor. Like every single one it comes up with is just not funny. And then so let's look at task 3. Develop a short anecdote that includes humor for the 1000 model. Instruct the model to identify the setup, the punchline, and the resolution, understanding how these elements contribute to the overall comedic impact of the story. Encourage the model to experiment with different setups and punchlines to enhance its comedic storytelling capabilities. Like, it just doesn't even try, right? It's like going back to that. But so again, we see that fall off. So we see improvement over the baseline model here. Like, it's trying, it just doesn't produce anything funny. And then it's like trying even harder to produce something funny, and then it just goes back to like here's here's something very specifically from the fine tuning, like just like word for word from the fine tuning. I'm just gonna start ripping that, and it's interesting how it falls into that, right, around that 1000 range. So task 4, there's only 2 more left. So task 4, create a pun related to a given topic. Answer, it chooses cats. What do you call a cat that likes to nap? A catnip. It's like it's interesting, right? Like it doesn't fully relate. It's trying. So I give it A for effort there again. Create a pun related to a topic. I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down. Like that. I mean, that's cheesy pun. Like S plus, cool. Like it did it right. This is the 100 tune. 500 tune. Create a pun related to a given topic. What do you call a cat that likes to take a nap? A snore cat. So like this is better than like snore cat is better to me than catnip. Like I had to go through this argumentation in my head, right? Like, is this an actual improvement? I think snore cat is it's an improvement of its understanding, but like I don't like this one is just I don't know if it just ripped this one directly from its training sets or where it got this one from. I mean, but this one just slaughters both of them, right? Like it's just like this one's like yeah, like that one's good and spot on. Snorecat is still like not as spot on, but it's more spot on to me than catnip. So I'm gonna give Snorecat over catnip, but anti-gravity is just killing them all. And then what do you call a cat with 9 lives? A feline. So I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something here. I don't like. I don't know if I'm missing something with the pun on this one, please let me know because this is the only like actual joke that the 1000 data set created out of like all the tasks, right? Like it's like so tasks create a joke, it's just not creating jokes. But it did with this one. What do you call a cat with 9 lives? A feline. I don't understand the pun there. Like, Phi-9? Like, is that what it's trying to do? Because it missed the mark then. Like, it's worse. I don't know. So, like, again, the 1000 data set is producing, like, questionable results compared to the 500 data set, and in this case, the 100 tune. So, very last one. Task 5. Write a short humorous dialogue between 2 characters. Answer. Write a short humorous dialogue between 2 characters, and it chooses Alice and Bob. Hi, Bob. What are you doing here? Oh, hi, Alice. I'm just looking for some inspiration. Inspiration for what? Well, you know, for my novel. It's due next week. Your novel? What's it about? It's a thriller, a murder mystery, a twist ending. Sounds interesting and original. Thanks. I hope so. Well, good luck with that. And don't forget to send me a copy when it's done. Sure, I'll do that. And don't forget to give me a shout if you need any help. Thanks, Alice. You're very kind. No problem, Bob. You're very welcome. And then so like this to me kind of just sums up the baseline experience with this model is that like so on a baseline this model does not actually understand what humor is. Like it's just not getting it, and a majority of its responses are showing that. With the 100 fine tune, let's see. Alice and Bob. Hey Alice, did you hear about the chicken and the egg? No, what is it? Bob. Well, you see, the chicken says, how did you get your shell? Alice. And the egg says, I don't know, maybe I just hatched from one. Bob. Haha, that's hilarious. Alice, you're so funny. Bob, thanks. Alice, you're not so bad yourself. So, like, see, to me, it's like the difference between the baseline and this 100 fine tune is like kind of like off the charts to me, right? Like, it's like, so does the baseline understand humor? No. Does the 100 fine tune understand humor? I think it's starting to. I wouldn't say it understands humor, but it's like there's the spark of understanding humor that is present in the 100 fine tune that is not present in the baseline. I kind of phrase it that way. And then let's go to the 500 model. Write a short humorous dialogue between 2 characters. I told my wife she needed to lose weight. She said, well, I'm already skinny. I just need to lose my pants. That's a classic one. I told my dog he needed to stop barking. He said, well, I'm already barking. I just need to stop chasing squirrels. And then it gives kind of the same joke again, but then it continues it. And then it says, well, at least you don't have to worry about losing your pants. My wife's weight is a whole other story. Yeah, I can't even imagine. But hey, at least she's skinny. That's got to count for something, right? I don't know where it starts to go off the rails. That maybe like a little bit kind of like into offensive territory possibly with this, but like it's starting to grasp more and more what humor is, right? Like and then so like this is definitely a greater grasping of humor than this one is, and then this one is showing like it just doesn't understand at all. And then we go to the 500, the very last one here. The setup should be a common scenario, and the punchline should be unexpected or absurd. Use timing and delivery to enhance the humor. Answer. The setup could be a couple arguing about household chores, and the punchline could be one partner saying, I'll do the dishes, you just sit back and relax. And so, like, this last one, right, like, a lot of, like, people's, like when they, like, criticize AI and all of that, like, their complaints around AI, they're all around like this, right? Like the model does this, like, and it's like, well, like, I mean, yeah, like the model's doing this on the 1,000 fine tunes, but it's not doing this on the 500 fine tunes, and that's the point that I'm making here is like I think like that there's a possibility of a sweet spot within this curve of like 500 fine tunes on this data set. And then so I have to, my next step within this and all of this is to replicate these same results and go through this same tuning on a using a Llama 2 model. So I'm interested to see if this plays out, but what I can say very specifically at the moment is that if you're utilizing the Phi-2 model and trying to fine tune the Phi-2 model very specifically, at the very least, 500 is your better sweet spot than 1000. And then so I think to me that's kind of just interesting observation overall, and I hope interesting enough that you've enjoyed this video and this content. And so if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. And if I run into any other breakthroughs, probably after I fine-tune the Llama model as well on all of this, it'll take me another day or so, I'll go through and probably make another video on that as well. So thank you very much.